everyone. It's a pleasure to be back for my third talk with you all. This talk is actually just a follow-up on our last talk. In the last talk, I talked about just the ways that you can practically be autonomous of your learning experience by incorporating daily activities into your learning journey. And so today will be not that much different than the last one, but this time I wanted to focus a little bit more on the learning types because everyone is different. Everyone learns in a different way. And so I wanted to just focus in more on our differences and how we can utilize our preferences with learning to become better learners in the future. Okay, so just gonna go ahead and share my screen. 1 second. Okay. So are you guys seeing? It's about to show in a second. Are you guys seeing my screen here?
Yes.
Seeing.
Yes? Okay, it's loading right now. All right. So yes, thank you everyone. So I'm Taylah Martin, Master of Arts in Applied Linguistics. I got my degree from Georgia State University. I currently actually work at the Interactive College of Technology here in Georgia, and that's where I am actually an ESL teacher there now. And this research that I did has a lot to do with what I intend on doing with my students at the Interactive College of Technology. So my question to you is, what's your learning style? Okay, and I'm basing this talk on the VARK model. This model is based on a research study done by Neil Fleming and Colleen Mills back in 1992, and it was done in New Zealand. And what this study was, it was a classroom study in which these two researchers created a questionnaire asking their students what preferences they had in terms of learning. Okay, and from the study, they concluded that there are 4 means of learning. Okay, one is a visual means, right? If you can be a visual learner. Okay, you can also be an auditory learner, or maybe you're a reading, writing learner. And lastly, possibly you could be a kinesthetic learner. As well as if maybe you're an overlap of all of these, and then that would make you a multimodal learner. But we'll talk more about that later on. So I just want you to kind of think about yourself right now, right? Be a little selfish right now. Think about yourself and your own experience learning English or any other language that you are studying. If you are a visual learner, then you are someone who learns from images and visualizations. And these images can be in the form of pictures or drawings or bright colors. And if you prefer visualizations as well, maybe when someone is speaking to you, you understand better when you can visualize what the person is telling you. And that means they're giving you vivid descriptions, okay? So if you're someone who falls into that category, then maybe you're a visual learner. The next type of learner is an auditory learner. And this is someone who learns through listening and through repetition. And when I say listening, that could possibly be through audios or lectures. Maybe you're someone who doesn't get bored in class when your teacher is lecturing. And that possibly could be because you're an auditory learner. And maybe you learn very well through music or through repetitive mnemonics. Maybe things formed into rhymes or poems, things of the sort that make you really excited and help you to remember your information a lot better. Possibly you're an auditory learner. The next one is a reading, writing learner. So this learner is someone who learns from reading information and writing their information. So you are probably a bookworm. You really take in you take in information through your books, through textbooks, right? Or if your teacher gives you handouts, you really love that. You really soak that in. And if you're more inclined with writing information, maybe you love writing essays, blog posts, right? You love reading captions, or you write a lot of notes in class, right? So if any of these resonate with you, possibly you could be a reading, writing learner. Okay, and then the next one is a kinesthetic learner. So this is someone who you are just very hands-on, right? You learn through physical involvement and through dynamic environments. So what this includes is lots of sensory stimulation. You like to do things while you're learning, right? And maybe you prefer more of a group project, a group dynamic where you can interact with other people and do a lot of tasks that will help you to learn, okay? And so we'll talk more about you also, okay? And that would make you a kinesthetic learner, okay? Then we have a multimodal learner. This is someone who you have multiple learning styles, right? Sometimes you're kinesthetic, sometimes you're visual, sometimes you're reading and visual at the same time, sometimes auditory and kinesthetic at the same time or at different times. It really just depends on you. Some people, they like to use a specific style first and then try all the styles, right, in order. Some people are that way. Some people need to use all of their styles at one time, right? But either way, this is just the way you learn and what fits in for you. I would say I fall into this group. I'm mostly visual and kinesthetic. So these are the two type of learners that I am personally. Okay, and if you are curious about what your learning style is, I encourage you to visit these websites. Visit vark/learn.com and take the two questionnaires that they have there. One is for younger people and one is for professionals. Now, I want to give you just two side notes, two tips that when we talk about these learning styles, I'm talking about learning, right? I'm not talking about leisure, right? I'm not talking about what is your favorite hobby. Oh, I like to read as a hobby. I'm not talking about hobbies. I'm talking about how do you learn things? How do you take in information, right? So that's what I'm focusing on today, right? And that's what's going to help you to identify what is the best way for you to learn your second language, right? I'm talking about preferences, not strengths, right? I'm not favoring one learner over another, right? So if you are a visual learner, right? Say you're a visual learner. I'm not saying that you're better at looking at images, or I'm not favoring an auditory learner over a reading, writing learner. No, this is all about your preference and what works for you. And you should be proud of that and use it for your own favor, okay? Now, here's my favorite part. I'm going to be breaking down 4 activities for each learning style. So I encourage you to take out your notebook and take lots of notes. Of course, there are plenty more activities beyond just 4, but I had to choose 4 just for the sake of time. So here are the 4 activities for visual learners. So the first learner, of course, the visual learner. Here's one activity that I've done with my students. This is an activity where one person, so the students face back to back, right? And one student has a paper with an image on it, and the other student has a notepad. So one student will describe the scene or the object on their paper while the other student draws it. And what this does is it helps to train your speaking and your listening skills, but in a visual way, right? One student has an image and they have to describe what they see, and the other student has to visualize what they hear and turn it into an image. So this is a great exercise if you're a visual learner. Here's another activity that I've done with plenty of my students. If you're a visual learner, then you can practice labeling images. So here are just a few examples of things that you can label, right? Parts of the body. This is one that I've done quite popularly. You can print out an image and label parts of the body, print out an image of a house, label parts of the house or a car or anything really. Rooms in a house or rooms in a school, anything at all. And you can label the image. What's important is that you're associating an image with the vocabulary, right? And this is a great way for you to build your vocabulary skills. The next activity for a visual learner, this is something that I do a lot. I do have a YouTube channel, so this is very common for me, is you can create a script for yourself and recite it in front of a camera or a mirror, okay? And what this does is you can see yourself speaking. You can look at your mouth as it moves, right? Look at your gestures. Look at your mannerisms, right? And this is what helps you to reinforce your learning skills by visualizing yourself speaking, right? This is important if you're a visual learner because you're able to correct yourself more easily. And you're also able to motivate yourself. For me as a visual learner, I love seeing myself progress. I love to compare my old videos to my new videos and seeing how I've changed, how I've become more comfortable in my speaking, right? And so you're visualizing yourself speaking. And here's one more activity for you as a visual learner. Instead of using a dictionary or a translator, what you can do is type in a word inside Google Images and see what pictures show up. This is something that's so useful for me because it helps me to only think in my target language, right? A lot of us really want to only think in English, right? Or whatever other language you're learning, right? The best thing for you to do is to type the word you're looking for into Google Image, and then you can associate the English word with the image instead of comparing your language to English, right? Does that make sense to everyone? Anyone have questions? Any questions at all?
Any question?
So far, so good. Thank you, Taylah.
Alrighty, great. I will continue. All right, so these are 4 activities for an auditory learner, someone who learns through listening. Okay. This is something I love to do, and I've been doing it ever since I started learning Portuguese. What you can do is memorize lyrics to a song and sing them out loud. Okay, I do this all the time, and in fact, let me see. I started learning Portuguese back in 2011, right? And the first thing I ever did to learn was I learned a bunch of songs. I'm talking about 1 song a day, like just so many songs. And you'd be surprised, in a matter of about 3 months, I already knew Portuguese because I knew so many of these songs. And I learned grammar, I learned vocabulary, right? I learned intonation, right? You can learn so much from singing songs in English. Oh my goodness. Or whatever language that you're learning. So I highly recommend you do this. I think this is underestimated a lot of times. but please learn songs and sing them out loud. Sing them to yourself. Listen to yourself saying these words. Get a hold of the rhythm of the music, because that will show you the rhythm of the language. Okay? So I highly recommend you do this if you're an auditory learner. Another activity you can do is this is something that I do a lot with my students. You can choose a video, and I prefer TED Talks. What you can do is choose a TED Talk video, right? Watch it, listen to it, really listen to the words, listen to the arguments that are being said in the talk. And then by yourself or with a group of friends, you can do an oral summary of the arguments made in the video, and then discuss your opinion about the video. What this does is it reinforces your listening skills, right? Because you're listening and you automatically have to give your opinion, make a report of what you heard, right? So you're really, really honing in on your listening. And then when you're in that group discussing, you're hearing the opinions of other people, and you're learning how to debate with other people, okay? This is a great thing to do. And if you are a shy person, or if you don't feel ready to speak in groups, you can do it by yourself. I do this all the time. Sometimes I will watch a video or even listen to a podcast. And in the mirror, I will just speak to myself and share my own opinion with myself, okay? Come outside of your shell, come outside of your comfort zone, and practice hearing yourself speak, right? That is so important. Okay. Another activity is I've done this with my students as well, and they really enjoyed it. This is a great vocabulary practice. Everyone will sit in a circle, and you will do a vocabulary telephone game. So what this is, everyone will have a vocab word and a definition, right? And every person will say their word and their definition. But the trick is, you have to memorize the word and vocabulary. You have to memorize the vocabulary and definition of the previous person, and then say yours. And so it's a great way for you to memorize what you heard, as well as speak out, so that other people can memorize what you said. Okay. So I really love to do this one with my students, and it puts you on your toes. It makes you really listen very closely. That's why I love it. Okay. Now, the last activity for an auditory learner is you can watch 1 minute of a Netflix series, your favorite one, right, in English or whatever language you're learning. And then you can recite the lines from your favorite character. So maybe you have to watch it a lot, watch that episode a lot until you know exactly what your character said, and you can recite it, okay? This is so great to do because you are practicing your intonation and you're practicing your memorization skills, right? You're practicing your acting skills because you have to act just like your favorite character. And so this is a great practice to do if you're an auditory learner. And it's really fun as well. You don't feel like you're studying. All right. Now, 4 activities for a reading, writing learner. So this first one is you can read a book or a short story and then write a summary about it, okay? What's so great about this activity is you're really putting your vocabulary into practice, putting your grammar into practice. And I find that for for writing, you have greater control over your output, right? You can control what you write, right? And you can go back and correct those things. That is so important because you become more conscious of your grammar, right? And how well you are executing, your verbs and your subject-verb agreement and all of those grammar nuances. So this is a great thing to do. If you're a reader, if you're a writer, this will come in pretty handy for you. All right, another one that you can do is, say you have a favorite movie. You can write a letter to your favorite character. Okay, so maybe it's the charming protagonist in your favorite series or movie. You can write a love letter to them. Or if it's a villain, you can write a letter telling them how wrong they were for violating the protagonist. You can do whatever you want, but write a letter to them, okay? And this will help you to use your imagination, as well as, again, practicing your grammar skills. Another activity is you can turn on the subtitles of a video and then make note of new words and sentences that you haven't seen before. This will help you to grow your vocabulary. That's something that I like to do sometimes when I'm watching something and there's a word that I'm not understanding. I will turn on the subtitles and write down that word, okay? And it's important. Write it down and then use it. Use it later on, okay? And then one more thing is you can watch another TED Talk. I love TED Talks. And write out your opinion, right, about the TED Talk. So it's very similar to the auditory activity, but here you're doing it as a writing assignment, okay? So writing assignments are just so important if you're a writing type learner. So write more often, for sure. All right, and here's the last one. For kinesthetic learners like myself, here are 4 activities for you. All right, so number 1, I have one student who she took a yoga class in Portuguese. She was learning Portuguese, and she took a yoga class in Portuguese, and she learned so many things. She learned, excuse me, she learned the parts of the body. She learned the words for different yoga positions. And the thing that's so important about this is you're physically involved in your learning experience, right? There's no sitting and writing and watching videos. No, you're in the activity, right? So when they say, do a downward dog, or I don't know yoga, but when they say, maybe if you're doing an art class and they say, oh, make long strokes across the canvas. Here you're learning canvas, you're learning strokes, you're learning the word for paint, right? All while you're doing it. And that's what makes it so interesting for kinesthetic learners. And then another thing you can do is complete a task in your target language. So with a friend, this is really great if you have a friend to do it with, but you can also do it by yourself. For example, you can cook with your friend and teach them a recipe in English, or whatever language that you're speaking. You can maybe do a tutorial, right? I watch a lot of hair tutorials, so maybe you can teach someone how to curl their hair in English, right? Or any tutorial, really. You can teach someone to do a skateboard trick in English, right? Or you can give someone directions to a location like the store in English, right? So think of your daily tasks, right? The things you do every day, but say them in English, right? So, and this is kinesthetic because you're involving your own sensory experiences into the learning, right, process. Here's something else you can do, which I've done. When I was in Brazil in 2015, I took an acting class in Portuguese. And that's something that you can do as well. You can read a book, for example, and then act out the scene from the book, right? Or you can find a script online and act it out with your friends and do a role play, you know? This is a great way for you can associate certain actions and emotions and characters with vocabulary, with grammar, with vocal intonation. There's so many things you can do that all involve kinesthetic, physical experiences. And here's the last one. You can, say if you're someone who goes on jogs, or maybe you take a walk to work every morning. Whatever you do physically, go to the gym while you're on the treadmill. You can be listening to a podcast in English or whatever your target language is. So here you are physically involved, right? You're being physically stimulated while also still taking in your target language. And this is something great to do passively as you're going about your day. Okay. And so that is the end of my presentation. If you would like more information about the VARK model, then I definitely encourage you to visit vark-learn.com, as well as you can read the article that Neil Fleming and Colleen Mills wrote, and it's linked right here. And then also I think that Kentucky University gave a great presentation about the VARK model. So if you would like these links from me, then you can contact me directly, and I will provide my contact information at the end. Thank you so much.